Every single physical product company should be selling online and have a web presence. Every week, I should say 20% of your customers are making online purchases. And the question is, are they buying your product? And is the product arriving safely and in a way that increases their brand loyalty? So let's talk about then the general priorities for online packaging. The first one is going to be safety. The second one is freight costs. The third, manufacturing costs. Fourth, recycling, and the second is the second sale, so the repeat buyer. And the sixth, that is actually the most important one that I want to drive home to, is the lifetime customer loyalty, which oftentimes people sometimes forget. It needs to be different. So we're going to go through all of these and things that you can actually do to fix it. So with safety, what is the difference of delivery between packaging designed for e-commerce and retail, the retail shelf? So when you are shipping for retail, you palletize a product. It's placed in a truck, and typically they even tie those pallets next to each other and they're wrapping the pallet. So things in transit, actually, it does move a lot. It jostles on the truck, but this is completely different than when you are selling something through Amazon or your own 3PL. Literally, imagine a warehouse with tons and tons of confusing boxes and conveyor belts that have 1 to 2 foot drop when you're doing online commerce. Then imagine the US Postal Service guy who is rushing, whose bonuses get paid based on how often and fast he's delivering, is trying to hustle products inside of a moving truck where things are a lot more loosely packed. And he's running away when he's going to drop it off from a dog. You know, he's rushing and afraid of being late. So the amount of jostling that happens to a product is absolutely wild. So the number one secret weapon that you need to think about is your inside packaging, your inner packaging. So we're going to talk about keywords for packaging. There's your master case, which is the corrugate shipping box. So you can call it a master case or a shipper box. Well, that's the craft or corrugate box that things are being shipped in. Then there's the cell unit, or also called a junior package, which is the thing that people see kind of when they're on the retail shelf where it has your personalized packaging. Inside of that, this is where you need to be able to create safety for your product that's unique and exclusive for online commerce. This is an example of a Bon Maman advent calendar that we created for them. And you can see here, these inside trays are plastic, and they created insulation so that way when the product is jostling around, both the jars don't come out of the structure, but also that they don't break. So this is where you need to be thinking strategically. What tools do you have in your arsenal? First of all, you can use bags. So a bag inside that has extra air, actually inside of the junior unit. So we're imagining cookies or cereal, candies. If you add extra air, that actually creates insulation for the product to not get hit. And you've seen that also. You can do that inside of the master shipper case. So if you have your product and you add extra bags to fill and insulate the product against the outer pieces, if the box is too large, that can help to add insulation, just like bumpers when you're going bowling and the ball keeps the ball inside of the lane. That's what a bag or extra air inside of your product can provide. If you want, you can also use paper. I highly recommend recyclable paper, and also those meltable cornstarch popcorn pieces, which again create insulation for you. I don't like styrofoam, but some people use it because it's sometimes the most affordable thing that you can use. And the other thing you can do is, you consider recycled materials. So you can do a paper pulp product, and I'm going to show you a box like this, which is from moo.com. So you can see this box was specifically created for online commerce, and it has cardboard that helps to keep things inside. So an extra flip tray. This is a recycled pulp paper tray. So instead of styrofoam, you can actually have a factory manufacture this. It literally looks like egg carton. Okay. That helps to create, you can see it elevates the product so that the things can sit in there without jostling around. So you want your inner packaging to be made by a professional company, or if you're on a budget, go to companies like Uline or even Berlin Packaging, and they usually offer bulk options for you. So the next issue we're facing in online commerce is freight costs. And we all want to be able to reduce our freight costs, because I'm telling you, gas prices are through the roof. And this will be the surprise area in your business that will hurt you in this year if you do not manage and reduce freight costs. So how do we do this? What determines your freight costs? It's actually in shipping, it's weight versus the size, and whichever is greater. And that is true whether you're doing ocean freight, courier freight, across the board. So if you have a very heavy product, we want to reduce weight, because that's probably what's determining your cost. If your product is wide, it's the dimension. So we want to reduce that. And obviously you can look at your own package to see if there's places that you can cut down on weight. So by using, for example, really light paper materials instead of using heavier plastics. So look at the material. How much does it weigh? And is it possible to reduce the weight of the packaging? And with regards to the dimensions, you should be making custom packages for online commerce. I want to give you an example of coffee. So we have a client, Civilized Coffee, in here. You guys, one of my clients had a website, and they were allowing customers to buy one single bag of coffee at a time. And we did an analysis of their profit and loss as a consultant, and we found that they were losing money, because basically the freight cost of just shipping that one bag was completely consumed with that one bag. So what we did is we told them, sell two, require people to buy 2 bags at a time, and everything, like all the cost of that second bag is 100% profit for this particular client. So I'm not guaranteeing that for every person, that if you sell 2, you can cover your freight costs. But what I'm saying is that you're going to you should consider doing bulk packs for online, because it amortizes the freight costs over multiple products and allows you to capture more profit. So look at those pieces as creating products that fill the full dimension of the box. And the other thing you need to keep in mind is who is going to deliver that and their specific rates. So for those of you, for example, who are on Amazon, let me see if this is, yeah. So I have a link here, and it's on the Instagram blog that I wrote. It's called Designing Efficient, Indestructible, Impactful E-commerce Packaging. Long mouthful, but I have links to the place on Amazon.com or its US Postal Service that lists the rates that they charge you. And the average person who is selling online just starts selling exactly the retail product that they had, without stopping to ask themselves, maybe I should redesign the packaging to fit and to optimize profit and actually fit the actual box. So you should go to the US Postal Service website. If you're doing flat rate, if you're doing your own direct shipping, you should be using the flat rate priority boxes and literally design packaging to fill those boxes. If that means you go from a 16 ounces of coffee to 12 ounces of coffee just to be able to fit into a cheaper box and control your costs, that's what you should be doing. So you need to go and look at either your 3PL or your courier provider, FedEx, whatever it is. They have websites that will tell you the size of the box, the estimated cost, and you need to design to reduce your freight. So yeah, carefully pick your shipping company, design bulk and multi-packs, rethink the locations of your vendor warehouses and factories. So I literally had this problem this week. One of my clients is manufacturing in Georgia beauty products, and they said, we're having problems with freight. And I asked them, where are you buying your packaging? And they were buying it in Texas. Now that means they're not only manufacturing, but they're shipping the product from Texas all the way to Georgia. Think about this. If you find packaging companies that manufacture close to you, then you're not having to pay for the freight. And so looking at where your warehouses are, whether you have multiple warehouses, East Coast and West Coast, that can make a big difference for your courier fees. So all of those 4 things you should do. Go check out my article on the ECRM blog if you want links to kind of do some of the math for yourself. So I also want to ask, how many people have found their costs going up in the past 2 years for manufacturing of their packaging, not just their product, of their packaging? I'd be so curious. Has anyone been seeing their costs go up? I'm sure you have. I wonder by what percent. Okay. Because statistically, packaging has gone up between 10 and 30%. This says since 2022, but in 2022 is what this should say. And your packaging costs in general, if you are looking at your business mathematically, it should make up 3 to 7% of your product costs. And so if you're a company that really focuses on boutique packaging, then it might make as much as 10%. But so if you're having your packaging costs go up, obviously it's eating your profit margin. Look at Amy. She's saying absolutely 15%. So how are we going to do this? And the examples that I gave earlier about reducing freight costs obviously will make a big difference for you. But one of the first and most important problems that I all the time see with small emerging brands as well as medium-sized companies is that there's too many boxes. To make 1 million custom boxes means 1 million die fees, 1 million different piece parts. So you have to train your employees to pack. And it's confusing even to your customer. Should they buy a 6-pack, a 2-pack, a 12-pack, a 24-pack? It's really confusing. So you should be simplifying, reducing to as few as possible. And you can add customization through inserts. Do a custom insert, which is much cheaper, or custom, sticker on the outside of the box or the bag. These pieces can allow for the customized experience, but reduced manufacturing costs because you're only customizing the smallest portion of your online commerce packaging. I also recommend that you ask your manufacturer for stock bulk sizes. So when I'm talking about a die fee, most people don't even know what that means, but when you buy a box, there's literally a cookie cutter shape that is pressed into paper, and it's on a piece of wood, and every time a piece of paper is printed, they push into that and it cuts out your box. So if you ask your printer or your manufacturer what other sizes they are already printing, and you're able to work within those sizes, you don't have to pay a die fee. And a die fee in America can cost between $2,000 and $3,000. And in Asia, it's a lot cheaper. So it could be something like $600. But imagine if you're launching new products, how much you could save just by running, bulk running, they call it gang running, products that are the same size as other things that they are running. And I mentioned this too, that reduce custom printing. So if you have something like, if you have 20 million colors on your product, did you know that a printer is actually just like the one that you have at home, where there's little slots for CMYK? And when you add a special color, like a Pantone color, a PMS color, which is the industry term for a custom color that's just mine, like Coca-Cola Red or Tiffany Blue, a printer actually custom mixes that color somewhere else and inserts it into their printer. So they have CMYK, which are the colors that they blend together to create, the shades. So it's like blue, pink, yellow, and I think it's green. They create the mixed colors, but if you want an accurate color, you get a PMS color. You can usually, with certain printers, run up to 8 colors. That's like a really big high-end printer. But if you do 16 custom colors, they have to run your product once and then run it to the other side of the printer and run it again, which increases costs. If you add things like UV spot finish or foil, again, these are beautiful things. They can really grab attention, but they increase your costs. So look at your current packaging and see where you can reduce these customizations or these specialty things. Reduce your colors to just CMYK. It won't be as vibrant as maybe a perfect match to your ideal color, but you'll save money. And sometimes just making more money is actually the way that your business stays afloat. So consider these things. And like I said, add inserts, stickers to customize your box, and that will be an affordable way of going about doing that. So I want to talk about recyclability. I would like to hear from anyone here in the chat, is recyclability or sustainability a top priority for you or not? Have you talked about it internally? Did you make any decisions about your packaging around sustainability? I'm so curious because a lot of times we talk about it and sometimes we're not sure if our customers actually care about sustainability. And I'm confident all of you know that if you buy sustainable packaging, it's more expensive than non-sustainable packaging. Oh, I love that you just wrote your sustainability today. Yes, they're all about compostability. Yes, highly dependent upon the supplier. It's so true. So interesting enough, according to a poll done by Accenture in 2019, more than half of consumers would pay more for sustainable products and packaging designed to be reused or recycled. So what this means is that customers would like and would value if you make a commitment to at least being as responsible as possible. The biggest issue I see, there's actually two big issues. The first issue is that most of the time your high efforts are so expensive and consumers in the moment don't realize, because they're thinking about a different priority when they're buying, they don't realize that you are recyclable. So we need to address this. And here are the ways that we can increase our recyclability. I love Kelly. She's saying it's not a cost effective, especially in the coffee category. It's barely even possible. It's really hard to get packaging that will keep the air quality good so that the product tastes good. We're not very evolved in our recyclability in the world, but we're getting better. So the first thing is that you can focus on recyclability of your shipping materials. Okay. We have to do our part and do what we can do. So the shipping materials is the number one place where we have a lot of waste. Use craft paper for your secondary packaging. Try to avoid print finishes like gloss or special seals, because that actually makes a piece of paper, which you think is recyclable, unrecyclable. So don't use those finishes. Don't use styrofoam. I showed you a minute ago a paper pulp tray. So if you use interior things to protect your products, you can use fully recyclable plastics, or you can use recycled paper to help keep your products safe in shipping. I don't know if this resonates with anyone out there, but let me know if you think you should be changing your structural, your shipping packaging, and maybe that could help you to at least move one step forward towards recyclability. I'd be curious to hear from you guys. The second thing you can do is to pick materials that are recyclable in most places. So compostable packaging did you know there's only 3 places in the world that are in the US that are actually considered legally compostable, where products that say compostable can and should be processed. And a lot of times those products don't even compost within 10 years. So, and most people will confuse your compostable product with recycling. They might even, because it looks like plastic or it looks like something that could be recycled, and so it doesn't actually get into the compost pile for most packaging out there. So what can we do instead? We pick these products that are recyclable for most people. So glass, metal, and unlaminated paper is easy to recycle for anyone everywhere. And it actually is perfectly recyclable, meaning glass, every time you heat it up and reuse it, it's still good. Same with metal and unlaminated paper. I mean, technically you can rebuild with a tree. You can only recycle paper so many times before it breaks down and you can't recycle it anymore. But we have trees, so this is infinitely recyclable. Plastics are not infinitely recyclable, because did you know any plastic material never decomposes? It just breaks down into smaller pieces and continually exists out there in the universe. There's sands and grains of sand everywhere of little pieces of plastic. So the main thing you can do is use PET or, this should say PETE, which is the number 1 on the recycling, and HDPE, which is number 2. And these actually can be recycled. So they can't be completely eliminated. There's a limit to how many times you can recycle these plastics, but they can be recycled. So pick something like that if you must. Then the plastics that are number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6, and number 7 are a lot harder to recycle. It depends upon your local municipality. So, this is something to think about. If you can pick better products, try from the start. Then, of course, use originally recycled materials. So let's try to use glass that's pre-recycled, paper that's been pre-recycled. Again, it is more expensive because our world hasn't figured it out yet. So just take a look at it when you have the time to see if that can be something that you guys can commit to as a company. And the last piece is number 5. You should be telling the story of what efforts you have taken. So Kelly, let me speak specifically to you. It's not cost effective. It's true. But based on that report earlier, people said that they did care and they would pay more. So the question I want to ask you is, how could you tell the story if you do incur more costs by making more ethical choices? Can you tell the story to the client somewhere about this so that you're building an emotional relationship with your client and that they can actually appreciate it? If I want to print, if I'm going to take all this effort to research recyclability and pay more money for it, I want to be sure that my customers feel the effort that I put into it and are able to join me in being more loyal to me because I'm doing things that they care about. Let's reward them and reward ourselves by telling the story. So put some information on your package that says, come to our website to learn about our commitment to sustainability or our efforts. So if you haven't done that, ask yourself on your website, where is this information if we value recycling? Make sure that it's clear. We have a question from Jeff. Can you recycle PET or HDP2 if they have a printed label stuck to them? No. Some municipalities can remove it. So they have a process where they soak it and remove the plastic, but no. So the one exception might be if the label is the same material. I don't know for sure on that one. Thank you for asking a question, Jeff. So the next priority y'all should be focusing on is motivating that second sale. And this is powerful. How much does it cost for you to get that first sale? Think about it. And if you have a CFO, ask him or her to do the math, because you should be able to calculate, if you take the time, a cost to acquire a customer. And statistically, it is significantly more expensive, 10 times more expensive to acquire a new customer rather than to just get an existing customer to buy again. So you put in all that effort. How do you capture that person and make sure that they come back and buy again? So the way you can do this is by creating special offers for repeat buys or subscriptions. Online commerce is all about subscriptions. We want these customers to come back and buy once, twice, monthly, weekly, quarterly, because that shows, not only will that demonstrate long-term lifetime value. You can look at Black Rifle Coffee that sold for crazy multiple millions of dollars. I think it was even like, I don't remember the number, but it was millions of dollars, all based on the fact that they had most of their sales coming from subscription. So if you can create a process on your online website to motivate subscriptions or repeat buys, you can do that with special offers that you can insert into your box, whether that's a coupon, a promo code, a QR code that brings them to a website to set that up, giving them a discount when they agree to do a subscription. These things can help you to create repeat sales. You should also make revisiting your online store super easy. Hey, where is your QR code on your packaging? Do you have it on your exterior packaging and interior packaging? Do you have a website listed on your package, on every single part of your packaging? Your shipping box, your interior packaging, your inside. I mean, come on, let's take advantage of the real estate, which is where my eyes are going to be looking as a consumer. Add your website, exactly how it should be entered. And I want to say that too about social media icons. This is the weirdest thing. I don't know why this exists in packaging, but are you just putting like an Instagram icon, but not adding the actual tag of your Instagram channel? That is not helpful to me. All you're telling me with that little icon is, I am on Instagram. That doesn't mean I can find you. It's so hard to find brands that I love sometimes because I don't know what their social media address is. I don't think you should have crowded packaging that has a ton of those things up there, but just take a minute to ask yourself, like, where do we really want to be performing for our audience and speaking to them? If it's TikTok, right, put the TikTok logo and your TikTok address and your web address, and then leave it at that. Don't just put that icon. It's not helpful. I can't visit your site or visit your social media. And the last piece is remind them to review and share and tag you on social media. If you haven't done this yet, give them a discount if they're going to give you a review. Social proof in online commerce is what it's all about. And you want people talking about you, tagging you, sharing the success. So what could you give someone if they were willing to film a video of themselves, making their bed with their brand new sheets that they just bought from you? What would you give for that? How valuable is that if they post that on their social media and share how much they love your product? So ask yourself right now, I'd love to know, does anyone need to do some of these changes here? Which of these 3 things do you think you need to do? Are you going to add special offers? Are you going to revise your packaging to have your social media or your web address like clear? Or are you going to do some type of promo for reviews and sharing? 1, 2, or 3. I'd love to hear which things really stood out to you as your next step. Oh, I love seeing this. Reminders to review and tag. Yes, my friend, I hear you. And don't feel bad. We all forget these things. You guys are juggling a lot. You've been making packaging design decisions. This can be sometimes the last thing you think about. But let's drive some subscription, Mark. Let's do this. Okay. I love seeing you guys' enthusiasm. It's awesome. So the last piece, y'all, and I want this to be a soul to soul conversation. I am a business growth coach. And if you're motivated by the end of this and you want someone to walk with you in implementing these things in the future, you can come to my website, emilyannpage.com, and hire me. But regardless of whether you hire me, you need to go talk to somebody about these things and make sure that you're implementing them, because it has to do with your bottom line. But here is the biggest piece of meat that I'm going to give you today. So what is the difference between these 2 things that you're seeing here? They're both coffee. And one of them is 99 cents at a diner. And one of them is like $3.99 to $6.99 at Starbucks. Why? It's the same amount of ounces. It's technically the same product. Okay. Why? Why are people spending, it's not Starbucks, they call it $5 these days. Why? And let me ask you, how do people perceive your product? Do they think your product is a cheap product, a commodity, or do they think it's premium? Are they willing to pay $4 extra for your product over the 99-cent thing that they could be buying? I want to ask you, be real. Soul talk here. Soul talk. Where are you on your branding? So commodities, this is Econ 101 for everyone in high school or in college. We remember Econ 101. I have a master's degree in economics. So I learned this is the only thing I use for my econ degree. Okay. So don't be impressed, but you should remember that commodities compete on price, because no difference between 1 cup of Joe and another. Brands have barriers to entry, so they compete on perceived value. Think about this. A monopoly can make profit because no one can beat them. They are the only one. And what if, unless you have a proprietary secret technology, it's hard to become a monopoly unless you create a brand. Branding creates a monopoly through brand loyalty. A person can only buy your brand from you because you have trademarks and you own that logo. So, and the value that people put on your brand is just an opinion. Is Starbucks actually better than that $1 drip coffee? Prove it to me. Prove it to me. It's all in your customer's mind. It's perception. And branding is about persuading people that you have value. So and I see a ton of clients regularly who ask me, Emily, I want to grow and scale to the next level. Why am I not there? And I can tell you, many companies make the mistake of not spending time or money on their branding, and they go the cheapest route, the fastest, dirtiest route to going and getting out there. And the result shows in the lack of brand loyalty. Your product is not different than another product if people don't scream, I must have this brand. So what are your next steps? And let's be real people, real talk. Ask yourself, or ask some of your customers, or ask a friend, or ask a consultant, how are people perceiving my brand? Does it look cheap? Is it professional? Is it repeating the same brand identity elements so that people can identify both my website, my pitch deck, my trade show booth, my packaging, my products across multiple categories? Do they all look professional? If they're not, you are leaving money on the table. And I own a branding agency, so obviously I'm a little biased, but I can also tell you, because of that, you should listen to me. I have seen brands who came to me a year and a half ago and said, Emily, I'm not selling into retail. And this one particular client, I will tell you, was going to ECRM, and they would have great meetings and then they wouldn't close. Meaning they would have a follow-up after ECRM and they couldn't get the retailer to buy. And they said, why is that, Emily? Is it ECRM's fault? And I told them, no, it is not ECRM's fault. You don't look ready to play in the big leagues. You're showing up looking like you belong in high school, like Little League, and you need to professionalize your packaging to look retail ready. And that same thing exists on people's websites. So I'm not saying you guys are in that, I don't know what your branding is, but you should ask yourself this question. Do I look like a professional? Do I look like, Black Rock Coffee that's ready to go public? And what can I do today to professionalize? So invest just thought. I'm not even trying to sell you guys on hiring an agency. It sometimes just starts with something as simple as investing time. You just invest thought and time into, what does my brand need to look like to communicate and motivate emotionally my client to feel that I have more value? And then maybe you need to hire a branding company to up level you. And so don't be a penny wise and a dollar short. Hire a professional who also has industry experience. So when you're beginning, you can just hire anybody, right? To just get going, because you don't have the money. And sometimes the ROI on investing isn't there. But as you grow, you need to have people who have experience in packaging or in the category that you're trying to design for. Because a lot of graphic designers, for example, design only on their computer. I've got a huge Mac here, and I've seen designers design beautiful packaging that's so inspiring and woo-woo, but they've never taken the time to print that out and put that in a retail space where you're actually competing, or to actually go to Google search and check the Amazon listing in your category and see, how would this stand out in online search? So you want a professional that's going to help you to stand out in your category when you're ready. So it's not right for everyone in the beginning. Let me know, guys, where you feel that your branding is. Like, do you feel you're a 10? You're like crushing it on your branding? Or do you feel like, whoa, I'm a number 1. I just paid someone on Fiverr like 50 cents to design my stuff. What do you think where are you on that scale, 1 to 10? So the second thing you need to do is create an organized brand identity guide. And a lot of people who've never gone through a professional process have no idea what this is. So what it is this little picture right here. Looks like kind of a, I forgot to pull one up here, but basically it's a book, a PDF that you can send to your website designer, your packaging designer, to an investor, to anyone, to explain the rules of how to look like you and how to talk like you and how to think like you. So it should be a guide that's kind of like your Bible, your company Bible, and you should send that out to people when they're doing new things for you. And the power of that is you can actually hire 1 million graphic designers to do packaging artwork, as long as you have a guide that all of them have to start with as their foundation. This investment right here, you can have any of your existing designers do for you. Take your existing assets, put them into a guide. So we agree that every design after this is going to follow the rules. And if you're ever looking to sell your company, come talk to me, because I help people to prepare to sell. This is an asset. This is a huge asset for any future investor. They're going to want to see your P&L. They're going to want to see your legal, set up, what kind of IP you have, what kind of legal rights you have to your company, and they will want to see your brand identity guide. So you should be preparing this and keeping this in place if you ever plan to sell your business. And the third thing is, have your values you stand for and stick to them. So it's not just, branding is not just about your visual cues like your logo or your fonts or your colors, which are important. You got to keep showing up with the same colors, fonts, and logos. But they're also about your values. What do you stand for, and why should I care? Why the hell should I care? When I care, when you care, your perceived value goes up. And I can tell you that, you've something as simple as doing an interview with someone for a job. I just interviewed someone recently for an assistant, and they showed up and they didn't have any particular care or passion about my business. They just wanted a job. Do you think I cared about hiring them? And when they asked me for more money than I was planning, do you think I wanted to pay it? No. So you should be asking yourself, how do I communicate our core values? It should be on your website, it should be on your packaging, and it should show up in your design language. And then last thing, because I want to get to some Q&A, and Joe's probably like, hey, where's the Q&A? I promise, Joe, we're almost done. The last thing I want to say, which I couldn't fit into these other key priorities, is when you're doing online commerce, what is the first thing, okay, that people see? Is it the box, the bag, the pouch? In retail, that is. People in their periphery are looking at your packaging on the side as they're scanning. They're pushing their shopping cart and looking left and right. So they're seeing out of their left and right eye. Packaging needs to keep that in mind. When you're doing online, they're looking here. And where did your product show up? On a shelf? No, it showed up in a search field. So look at this picture, which is a screenshot. How many of these products, first of all, can you recognize? So I'd be curious to see what can you recognize here on this? What brands can you recognize from the screenshot? You can obviously recognize Old Spice, which is like tried and true because it's such a classic look. That's something we can notice. The other thing we can notice is that I can't read any of the products. What is this thing? So I typed in, I think deodorant, and I got lotions, I got deodorants. So when you are doing online commerce, people are actually looking at 3-dimensional mock-ups or photos of your product. So you actually need to keep this in mind. This is the space where you have to compete. Do you have a clean white background? This is distracting. I can't see the difference between the packaging on this Kohl's lotion, and that's bad. You need to have a Photoshop thing if you're using a photo, or pay someone to do a 3-dimensional mock-up, because I can't read that. It looks dirty and it looks unprofessional. Clean white background. Number 2, front-facing position. Look at this. Look at this. I think this is Axe. This person has tilted it sideways and photographed ugly shrink wrap. That is not what it should be looking like. It should be straight on so that I can actually see the product and that it fills the complete allowable space. That's why I'd say Old Spice is actually doing a better job than Axe here to show me a large photo so that the visually impaired or the person who's super busy while they're shopping can see what your product is. The text of what you're selling needs to be clear, okay? Can I read the word coffee on your package? All right, I want to know, can I see the word candy? Can I see wall decor somewhere on your product, which is your product description? It should be legible. I know this is lotion. I've never seen this brand, but if I'm looking for lotion, this is the first thing that comes up here, and I'm going to click it. Rely on iconography and lifestyle photos and product listing pages to get more info to your customer of the additional benefits, but put it on the page, on your page, on the landing page, not on the front of the package. Because if I can't read it and you've got a million icons and a million call outs, I can't even decide if I want to buy this thing. So utilize online commerce's unique platform where you get a page to tell more information, and design with these things in mind. Don't be like these brands where you can't really see what the product is. So go today, look at your product online with a real critical eye. Maybe get a friend and search for your product on Amazon, or search for it on Shopify and on your site, and ask people, do people know what this thing is, or is it super, super hard to see? Sometimes we as brand owners can miss things because we're so passionate and we're working all day long. So you need an extra eye to help you figure these things out. Make the time to do it. Don't lose money. Don't leave money on the table just because you didn't have time to think about this. So the conclusion I want you to have is that brand equity equals short-term profit and long-term profit. Your brand equity is something that you can take to the bank when you decide to sell your business in the future, when you go public, when you are able to not be the only employee in your company, or to have lots of employees and you're able to actually go golfing sometimes rather than working all night long. It's going to be because people are loyal to your brand and continually, repeatedly buying, and you have strong profit margins. So your packaging needs to be where you're focusing. I hope that this added value to you. As I mentioned before, my name is Emily Ann Page. You can go to emilyannpage.com